Welcome to Career Step Forward. I'm Christiane Beinroth with my online consulting Azurate. Welcome. This episode is part one of a four-part series called Qualities and Soft Skills That Come Handy When You Work Internationally. Today, I want to talk about an observation that I have made over the last few years. And on the weekend, I had an encounter that brought back this topic, and I decided to add it to the series that I'm recording right now. For the lack of a better title, I will just call it From Village to Global. I might change it, but doesn't matter. I will start right away with an example to get into it and better illustrate it. A few years ago, I worked at an international school in the US. And one day I was talking to one of the students' moms. Her husband was working for a large German company in the US. He was a higher level manager, and I knew him as well. He was a very professional, skilled person, had great expertise. Plus, he was a person with awesome character. And what was really unique about him too was he knew how to interact with people from different levels. He could relate to them, the lower paid worker to the CEO. He just had this incredible high level of emotional and social intelligence. And we talked about that, and she said, I think it has to do with the fact that he grew up in the countryside. She knew him from early years. She also grew up in the countryside. But she says, when he was small in the village, he had to learn to get along with people. You couldn't just pick and choose. And it's really like that in a village setting. If you live close together, you somehow need to get along with the neighbor or with the old lady that is very different from you, or maybe somebody who gives you the first little job. You are exposed to very different kinds of people and, in a sense, ways of living or systems. And because you're kind of, you don't have any other options, you just have to learn. You're forced at an early age to learn how to interact with these very different kinds of people in a little village setting. Plus, then, you are exposed to not only the village, let's say, traditions, but you also then go on, you are in a high school, usually with academia that you were not exposed to with the traditional people in the village, and with teachers that come from the city and bring a total different life into the classroom, the academia, the curriculum, then on to going to study and joining an international enterprise. So he was one of these people who had been, in his formative years, had been exposed to and had to learn to navigate different kinds of systems and groups and cultures, so to say, way of living. And this is a tendency I see, and I've seen it again and again, that when somebody is exposed at a young age to different systems, different culture groups, and I don't mean national cultures, I really mean like the different kinds of culture groups within a society. When you have to learn to navigate them early on, and also learn how to switch back and forth from one to the other, because you are playing basically then also different roles in them. Each one of these groups has also their own customs, habits, beliefs, ways of communicating and acting. So when you learn to navigate in these different groups and settings and systems and switch back and forth, it gives you an agility that is incredible, that is highly, highly profitable, gives you an awesome, okay, I'm getting stuck here. Let's start again. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are exposed to these different groups, it gives you an agility, an expanded emotional, social, and cultural intelligence that is highly, highly profitable when you are working internationally, when you have an international job assignment. And it doesn't matter if it is a long-term expat position or if it's a short-term position where maybe little trips or virtual portions are dominating. So this is kind of the topic for today. What we want to look at, how these exposures in your earlier years, formative years, to different groups where you learn to navigate back and forth and find your place and form your identity, play your roles, learn to communicate, learn to act in them, how that is really an asset, an incredible asset for when you are working internationally. This incredible agility and high emotional, social, and cultural intelligence that you are developing here. I will go over to another example just to, add more tangibility to it. On the weekend, and that was what triggered to do this recording. On the weekend, I helped out with a great grape harvest at a vineyard in the area. And I got to know an interesting person there. He was retired. He had worked all his career for a large German company. It doesn't matter which one, protecting identities. But he talked about how he had grown up in a larger village in the countryside, how he had moved on to become an engineer. And he was in his early 20s, and the company approached him and said, listen, we need somebody who can work for us in Paris, and we want the person to be single, and you fit the description. And of course, we know nowadays it wouldn't work like this anymore, but like back then in the day. But so he is this guy, really in his early 20s, had come from a very kind of simple, village living, but had gone to high school, had his high school degrees, studied engineering, joined this company that just happened to be this bigger company, this larger company, and finds himself moving to Paris. And he said it was a whole different world, of course. Discovered a total different culture, French culture and French food. And he went on to have a very successful career in this company and retired now. But again, it's a case where a person was exposed to quite contrasting systems and cultures at an early age, in the formative years, and was expected to navigate them and learn quickly and find their place in it. And that's the thing. You need to find your place in them. You need to find your role, what it means for your identity, because with each one of these exposures, and you're usually not aware of this, but it just happens, it touches who you are, and it makes you having to respond to them, and you might add a new facet to your identity or switch something in your identity and how you define yourself. And this topic is interesting for anyone who is either planning to work internationally. It's interesting for HR, anybody in international HR, international assignment managers, maybe even somebody in global mobility services, but anybody looking for talent. And it's also, last but not least, it is an interesting topic for parents who desire to prepare their kids for an international work life. So again, this whole topic about how exposure to various culture groups or systems at an early age in the formative years, how it can lead to a larger agility, heightened emotional, social, and cultural intelligence, and how you can profit from that in your international work life. It is profitable for yourself if you want to look for, if you plan to work internationally at some point. It's really an interesting point to consider when you are in talent acquisition as HR. And also it is really an interesting point for parents who really want to prepare their kids for this world. Now, let's just address these three groups. And of course, if you're already working internationally, this is a great topic for you too. And also the next episodes will go more into what soft skills come handy when you are already working internationally. Let's look at HR. If you are in talent acquisitions, if you are somebody to fill international job positions, look in their CV for signs of, has the person been exposed to different culture systems in society? It doesn't have to be internationally, but especially at a younger age. And you might have to look a little deeper because often it's kind of hidden, it's not obviously written. Read between the lines. But that is my recommendation for talent acquisition in HR. Look in the CV for these signs because you will find an agile person, a person who can navigate systems. And then when they are exposed to a new culture, new working environment, they can adjust much quicker because they have established these skills, these soft skills. Then if you are a person who plans in the long run to work internationally, I recommend that you keep or bring situations into your life that force you to be exposed to something different, to different people, groups, situations, systems. And it's awesome if it can challenge you a little who you are, even if it makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Let's say if you are in the city, expose yourself to country living, and or different groups in society, learn a new skill or something like that. And also when we talk to parents, with parents it's the same. We don't want our kids to grow up in a safe bubble only. We want to expose them, and of course we want to expose them with wisdom, guidance, and age appropriately. We want to expose them to people, situations that are different from their regular world. And we want to do it in the right measure, but we want to expose them so that they themselves, at their level, and protected, of course, but that they learn to navigate not only their little life, but learn to become more agile and see how they can have different sides and develop different sides of themselves. I hope this I expressed it well enough. It's just, I think for especially these three groups, it's really valuable if you have these varying exposures. And also another point, and we will get into that more when we talk in the next episodes about soft skills and qualities. When you're somebody planning in the long run to work internationally, if you have a partner, it's so important that they bring some of the same qualities as well. Even if they are not the ones working internationally or if they move internationally, we'll talk more about that. But if you want to work internationally and you have a spouse, you're married, or just simply have a partner, it's so valuable if they can just really grow in those same qualities and skills. Okay, so far for today, I would say that's enough. If you have any questions, if something is not clear, get back to me. And also, if this is a topic that is of interest to you, where you say, wow, I would like to reflect on it, I need somebody to talk about, get back to me with your questions. I'm a coach, I'm a content creator. If you are in talent acquisition, if you're in HR, and you think I can be of value in a workshop or training for you, please, of course, contact me. Or if you just want to use my information and recommend me to your international employees. Okay, have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening and enjoy this day. Bye-bye.